Secret friends, unite!
Welcome to Secret Friends Unite podcast, episode 445. This is your guide to the geek side, and I'm one of your hosts, along with a mini co-host this week. I'm Todd Oxtra, joined by Mini Elvira, as we are getting into Shocktober this week. And
that is
with that,
Todd's lady love.
Yes.
He's always adored her. Oh my goodness.
She's got a drink in her hand and she is ready to podcast with us. Until we get the real Elvira on this podcast, this will have to do. But I am joined by the spectacular Charlie Carden.
Do we have to give her per diem for being here? Does she get residuals from, was that in her contract? Like her avatar earns money?
Based on her action figure that I bought. So I think that's about as I think she got paid already.
Okay, gosh, yes, exactly. Yeah, the gravy train stops here. I am good. It's Sunday. It was 82 in Grand Rapids today. We actually visited
89 in Minnesota.
What is the deal? You guys are the psychotic girlfriend of weather in the United States. You're the super hot or super cold.
Mother Nature's on cocaine or crack or a crystal meth or a fentanyl. I don't know.
You are a Katy Perry song of weather, because I'm hot when you're cold. That's you guys.
She's going through menopause. Mother Nature.
Oh, I don't know. I don't think you want to provoke Mother Nature that way. No, it was really nice today. We actually went on to an artisan market where our son Nathaniel, he makes oddities and curiosities. That's a hobby of his. He was vending, and
is he stuffing things and pickling brains?
He's actually literally learning how to do taxidermy. It's an interest of his.
Interesting. Is he catching the things, or is he just finding them?
It's funny. I picked up a few things, and we had the same conversation at Mother's Day brunch earlier this year. I said, because we had just watched the Dahmer thing on Netflix.
Oh, God.
I'm like, dude, you realize you realize it's going to be a dead giveaway if you end up being a serial killer. You're already doing all this stuff, and
hobbies to avoid if you're a serial killer. That it makes it obvious.
It'll be mom and me on TV saying, "Well, he was always such a perfectly normal boy."
I enjoy picking up roadkill and taxidermy.
Oh my God. Oh, anyway, but we're lunch into spooky season. We got a lot of great stuff planned. We have our first film to talk about, which was a hoot. It was my pick. It was from back in the day, so we'll get into that in segment 3. But let's kick things off. We've got some exciting changes with our Patreon, but very excited that the WGA strike was settled this week. We got our writers back to work. You're going to be watching Colbert coming back, Seth Meyers, Late Night, hopefully The Daily Show, all actually tomorrow, this week to be watching those shows again. So I'm very excited about that because I've always enjoyed those, but glad those people are getting what they need. But the SAG-AFTRA strike is ongoing in day 91. We've always been very supportive of those folks and will continue to be. I believe there is another meeting for those folks coming up this week or in the next couple weeks.
We'll talk about that in the news section, kind of get everybody to what's going on in the world of the news. But absolutely, we're making progress.
I like it. But anyway, as always, please visit entertainmentcommunity.org if you are able to contribute and help these folks out while they struggle for their livelihood. So, speaking of livelihood, our livelihood is granted to us by the good folks who support us on our Patreon at patreon.com/secretfriendsunite. Todd and Mark and I put our collective little heads together and came up with some new combinations of levels of support. Todd, I don't know if we want to go through these or just refer people to the website. Go for it.
Yeah, it's probably easiest here versus sending out messages because, as people listen to this, if you're interested in Patreon, we decided that, we probably need to make this a little more affordable. Times are tough for everybody, and we want to make sure you enjoy it, and we want to make sure you can contribute if you can, and you get the most bang for your buck when you do. So we've kind of changed our tiers a little bit. We've retired some tiers, but I'll break these down. So basically, we created a $1 tier. Basically, this is just for folks who want to just say, thank you for what you do. Here's $1.
Like
and because of that, you're going to be a member of the Secret Friend Squad. We're going to give you a digital high five, and we're going to say thank you. That's what you get. Yeah.
Like Homer Simpson and his robo-dialer, happy dude, please send me $1. Don't be like Mr. Burns and say, I think I'd be happier with the dollar. Give it to Secret Friends Unite. We love you. If you enjoy our stuff, we enjoy that.
Yes.
I'll
And
cover
then-
the next one.
Okay.
Todd. $2 which is an existing tier. We call that the Besties tier. You get all the audio access and access to our exclusive Patreon Discord channel where we're talking about fun stuff and enjoying. And then, Todd, where do we go from there?
Yeah, for $5, this is our basically, we'll call it our new top tier. It's the Friends with Benefits. It's all audio, video content. It's shout outs that you're going to get if you're part of that tier on this podcast. You're going to get assigned a special ability, and you're going to get access to our Patreon Discord channel. So the great news is, so the folks who are in that channel already will get new benefits because they're going to get a shout out on the show, which is pretty cool. And then we obviously are retiring the $10 tier, and then the $5 tier. We basically said we're capped. People can stay in that $15 tier if they want to, but by all means move to the $5 tier because you're getting there's no new benefits for the older tier. So we want to thank those folks who did subscribe, and if you were a subscriber and you went away because it was too expensive, please check us out again.
Yes,
we love it, and we're going to have more stuff coming.
Right.
Yeah,
you got it. You got it. So, as always, our Friends with Benefits tier, this is a new readout of some folks who have been, a lot of them who have been supporting us from the beginning. Our pal Corey in HD, John Sadorf, the lovely Phoenix Sisters cosplay. That's our friend Kelly G and her partner. Bang, I love this. Banger Bang McBanger, the third banger, son of Banger, the House of Bangers, a.k.a. Brendan Myers.
the winter gamer, yes.
The winter. I went through it. I went through this because I recorded Code 47 earlier today. I couldn't say all that. I'm sorry.
That's an inside joke because our good friend Joe over at PlayStation Trophy Room, Mr. Badbit, he hates the term banger. So Brendan also supports them, and he just wants them to say the word banger. So it's almost like an inside joke that we have now picked up. I don't know if we'll say all of that every week, Brendan, but glad we got to say it.
Yes, you had your moment of the sun. The BFF tiers, which is largely unchanged. Sean Stella and Henry Nias, the delightful Nias family, my dear friend and frequent contributor, Missy Merchant, and Andy Milliken. And Todd, new spotlight this week. We did do this over on Code 47, but we'll get the unique SFU bent on it. So go for it.
Yeah, D Trovy. So thank you for being part of our team. D Trovy is part of we call it now the besties, and we're gonna just give D Trovy the special treatment this week. I think it's good. Thank you.
I will, and because we're giving him a superpower, we will skip the secret identity. D Trovy is my very dear friend Derek Trevelyan, right here in Grand Rapids. He is my figure collecting friend. If you see behind me, Derek has helped me collect a lot of these. I've helped him collect a lot of his. I'm kind of the man on the street where he's the guy behind the computer, gets me all my Hasbro Bull stuff. So if I was to give him a superpower, I would liken him to the Collector from either Marvel Comics or The Simpsons. So he has a magnificent collection of strange and unusual bits and collected wild technologies that helps him in his collecting efforts.
Very good. Very good. Not like collecting people and putting them into like Cena, Lucy Lawless. Not that type of collector.
No, yes, not the. Okay. Yeah, we're not going to take it to that level with the Simpsons guy. I don't think so.
Yeah. This is not really Elvira, folks. Just to let you know, I didn't like shrink her or anything. So
right,
I'm not that type of collector. Well, I'm going to give Derek a great ability because it's something you could definitely use. It happens all the time. I'm going to make Derek, his superpower is he is immune to paper cuts. Reading comics, things. Just imagine that, child. You never got another paper cut ever again. Wouldn't it be awesome?
I mean, you can get other kind of cuts, right? Like, what's the threshold? Just actual paper, like, but otherwise, yeah, I can still get cut if somebody stabs me or something.
Correct.
But just
you're not immune to knives.
It's awesome.
Unless a knife is made out of paper, all knives are still your enemy.
Oh my gosh. Well, speaking of, and again, Derek, thank you very much. Derek lives right here in EGR, and he's a good buddy of mine. We've been friends for several years. And again, we bird dog for each other when it comes to the very unproductive habit of being an action figure collector, which you can admire behind me if you're watching us on YouTube. But speaking of cuts, There's somebody in our We Got This Covered segment from March 2nd of 1976, just a couple of weeks shy of when I was born. But this is the Tomb of Dracula. He doesn't want to get cut by that looks like a wood knife. I don't know what's going on here.
Okay, so Tomb of Dracula, Lord of Vampires. This one actually passed the comics code because apparently I thought vampires weren't cool, but I guess they are. Basically, it says, this is it, the most requested story of all. Blade, the vampire slayer, battles Hannibal King, the vampire detective. We've got the two of them fighting out. Dracula's in the background looking scary, and then someone's in the ground. Not 100% sure what happened to him, but I'm assuming it's hijinks ensued because of a misunderstanding of something.
He dropped his hat.
This is the old Blade, though, Charlie. This is the one with like the weird green goggles. Doesn't look at all like Wesley Snipes. It's very weird.
And he's wearing a trench coat. Now, I find two things on this cover, which, of course, you can see if you're watching us on YouTube, to be dubious. Now, upper right-hand corner under the issue number and above the Comics Coast tab, we get Comic Books #1 Fear magazine. Where's the marketing analysis of that one? I find that
it was creepy, like the competition. Creepy.
I find that to be a very Stan Lee like a certain bit. As do I do what is left of center here. This is it, the most requested story of all. By whom? Are there really people writing in? Oh man, I've been reading this comic for 44 issues, but I might just not drop another quarter unless I see Blade fighting Hannibal King, the vampire detective. I don't
know, Charlie. All those people that wrote their letter to the editor 5 months ago requested it.
I don't know. I'm not buying it.
Lots of Blade stands out there,
But anyway, yes, he's fighting Hannibal King, who is assuming I believe he's wearing a white shirt because you can see the cuff outside of his trench coat looks just like Constantine, right? Did he fight vampires as well, or just whatever came along?
All supernatural.
The supernatural.
Yeah,
I love it. Well. Please.
Just a quick question, though. It says Hannibal King, the vampire detective, meaning he just detected vampires? Like he only investigated vampires?
Like cases took a
Ryan Reynolds
case?
Played Hannibal King in Blade 3.
Don't believe I saw it. I don't know. Could be a topic for a bad trip to the movies with the Cardinals, of which, speaking of Patreon, we are gearing up doing our next one, which is going to be, Todd, I almost don't want to tell you. Do you want me to tell you? Want me to keep it a big surprise? Sure. It's going to be, hold your breath, following up Catwoman, 2019's Cats.
Oh, God. Is that the butthole edition?
I will let you tune in. We're going to record and publish that this weekend. So if you're listening to this, what a great time to join our Patreon. Go for
like that classic Steel Shaquille O'Neal superhero film.
We could. The next one up was supposed to be Battlefield Earth, which I've not seen, but I had to spend $4 to rent it, and
I saw
I decided to move it to the bottom of the stack, so maybe next time I go investigate, it's found its way around to being on streaming again. But anyway,
Scientology handbook.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my goodness. Well, somebody who was probably around dropping a quarter on this book back in 1976 was our even then senior news correspondent at 76 years of age, now 123 years young. Madam Webb is down at the corner of Hollywood and Vine, bringing us the latest news in our news segment with Madam Webb. So let's do it.
Now it's time for Madam Webb's Rumors and News. Take it away, boys.
Thank you, Tina. Well, Tina, in the world of strikes, we know that you were try to be a strike breaker. You come out, try to show them all of your hot old ladiness, and hopefully you distract them enough that they come back to work because they need money to court you. That did not work, Madam Webb.
And
so
you know what you did just now? You revealed that her first name is Tina.
Oh, God. Oh, did I do that?
It's okay. I like it. Tina Webb. Madam Tina Webb. 445 episodes. We finally, because she's been with us.
It's probably Katrina, and then she gets went by Tina.
Yeah, Tina. Yeah, Tina Marie. There you go. All right. What do we got?
Yeah, so essentially we've got an update on multiple ends of strikes. So the first good news is, as we talked about the intro of the show, the writer's strike ended, and apparently, after 146 days, and it kind of went all wrong for the studios because they got more out of this than they initially proposed. And that's not good from a negotiation standpoint. It doesn't show that you're actually, you made a good decision. Was it worth it? No, you lost a lot of money and now you're behind. and essentially they had all the writers had all the leverage. So they got basically better writing rooms. So they got more writers in writing rooms. They have basically full ability to not approve AI to be used. They also got better salaries, better healthcare rights. All of these things are good for the writers, and they're actually going to get to see behind the scenes on how many people are actually watching these shows, and they're going to get residuals. So, I mean, come on, Bob Disney, all these guys, Tom Apple, I don't know, whoever else is involved in this. I mean, I just feel like this was all for naught.
Yeah, and remember that their hubris when this was all getting rolling, and maybe this was more consummate with the SAG-AFTRA strike starting, which is still going on. I'll talk about it in a moment. They were like, "Oh, we're just going to starve them out, and by the time we get to the end of the year, they won't have any choice." I love to see these, mustache twirling villains in their ivory towers get knocked down a peg. Power to the workers. There would be no entertainment industry without people who create entertainment. It's not these studio muckety muck dick nuts, pardon the expression, who are just
they don't write all the shows.
Yeah, exactly. They're making all the millions because they're sitting in their ivory towers. They're kind of big jerkwads. So I do not. This is a win for humanity as far as I'm concerned. This is fantastic. Good for them.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, so the big impact of this, we'll see more like talk shows that have writers come on. We will not see actors probably on these shows unless they're talking about funny stories back when they were growing up.
Right. I mean, the same thing that we saw on at Star Trek Las Vegas, that you had actors on, but they're still talking about hey, this was my experience with blah blah blah.
So maybe athletes, maybe musicians will be most of the guests. So we'll see that. Exactly. That's good. Now we'll have scripts will be starting to be written.
Right.
I've heard one good thing out of this, that maybe we'll get some more spec scripts, which basically spec scripts are essentially original ideas from writers that aren't tied to any properties or IP, meaning we might get actually more original ideas coming in.
No, they're going to do that? That's completely
exactly. The only bad thing is don't expect anything to actually start up for production until the writer's strike gets solved. So
the actor strike, you mean?
Yes, the actor strike.
Yes.
So that leads us into the actor strike, Charlie. So
exactly.
To the writers, now to the actors.
There you go. And as I had mentioned, it looks like there is going to be a new meeting for the striking SAG-AFTRA workers starting tomorrow, which would be yesterday by the time you're listening to this on Tuesday. And one would certainly hope that the folks on the opposite side, the studios of the SAG-AFTRA people would be of a similar mindset, that they simply want to resume doing business. Because, how much more of the thumb screws can they come down? Now, I'm not necessarily privy to exactly the fact if SAG-AFTRA has extremely unusual demands. I doubt it. But again, it all comes right down to a matter of how much are you willing to invest, studios and Tim Apples of the world, so that you can continue to have an industry and continue to have a chance to make any profits at all. We joke time and again, hey, this means that, Tim Apple doesn't get another, latinum covered, bathtub in his 8th mansion. There's plenty to go around. Everybody consumes entertainment media, at least that I'm aware of, in one way, shape, or form, and revenues are generated, and the people who make it possible should be compensated for that. It's as simple as humanly possible. But the greed and avarice that is the human race gets in the way of that. So I'm hoping for a decent resolution to this.
Yeah.
They're looking for percentage increasing for things like residuals. They're looking for obviously dealing with the artificial intelligence and the extremely reprehensible hey, as background extra, we'll scan your face and use you forever, and you're not getting any money. Haha. What?
Yeah. 11% increase in pay is what the actors are asking for. The residuals is probably the biggest part because right
Yeah.
now we're hearing that like, oh, Suits is the biggest show on Netflix right now, and actors are literally getting nothing for that versus when it was on the network. Because at the
Right.
time when they made their deal, streaming wasn't actually alive at that point.
Right,
So they didn't have to
exactly.
do anything because they weren't obligated. So that's going to be a
Right.
big part. They're going to want to know. They're going to see the numbers, like how many minutes, hours, whatever are watched.
How
so when
popular
Bob
is my
Disney
show?
shares like,
Yeah.
oh, this most recent thing was 14 million people watched. Okay, well that's kind of bad that they actually said that because now they have something to base it on. So
Right, exactly. Yeah, you can if you can math it, but you know what? I think Disney's going to be okay. The only thing that's killing them right now is that they're not making content.
Well, no, Disney's in a bad spot because Disney is about $46 billion in debt. They overpaid for streaming content. So that's why they're getting rid of crap. And they have to find a way to make streaming profitable because right now it's not. They went all in on Disney Plus. And while the theme parks are very profitable, it's the fact that they're now not getting paid by cable for all those revenues. They own ESPN. All of those subscriptions are coming down. So they're basically finding that their income is exceeding, or their expenses are exceeding their income. So they have to figure out a way to make this work. But it's because of their own fault that they went all in on streaming, realizing how are they actually going to make money? The Underpants Gnomes business model, not a good plan.
The underpants plus what is it? Plus socks equals profit. How does that work again?
Well, basically, it's underwear.
Blank
profit. Yeah, there's no like, how do you get that? Well, underpants.
It's not streaming.
The other part that's really big that's going to have to get solved out is that whole AI thing for like primary actors.
Yeah.
Their voice and their image. So you think about like anybody like, oh, we're just going to put them in this film and do mocapping on another actor and use their face, and now we don't have to worry about them. Or they're over, like James Earl Jones, like he actually sold his vocal likeness to basically be used. But Hollywood basically could decide if it's not covered to just do it with anybody, and you can't sue us. But, so that's the big one.
You got to put bumpers on it. So, well, I'm glad, and I'm excited to follow this. And even though obviously we're a week behind, we will be talking to you about it. Now, there's one more looming. Todd, is not the video game strike.
Exactly, and that's the big part. That because of this, we're hearing about more and more groups organizing, unionizing to strike. And SAG-AFTRA, the video game industry, kind of like has been excluded from all of this. So this is not Hollywood. This is actually going after the video game companies who make video games, who have voice actors, and the fact that people are, once again, getting screwed, not getting paid well. We talked about, like, the amount they get paid is there's not really a set standard. And because of that, they voted to indeed strike. Now, nothing has happened yet. So the question is, are they going to? And will Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo all come to the table and act in good faith, considering the video game industry has never been more profitable? Will they do that? I don't know. I hope they do.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. For the people, my friend, for the people. So, well, good stuff. All right. Well, we will, again, keep following that, and we will bring it right back to you. So, all right. What else have we got? The end of Halloween, Todd?
Not, that's the thing. We did get Halloween Ends, but apparently that was just a suggestion, not actually.
So it's been modified in the marketing to be Halloween Ends?
Yeah. So Malek Akkad is shopping Halloween movie and TV rights to bring Michael Myers back. So essentially, originally Miramax had the rights, but now this Trancas International Films owns the rights to Halloween, which is so bizarre. I don't know how this works.
And who the hell are they? Yeah, never heard of them.
I don't know. I don't know them either. But essentially, there's now a huge bidding war, and A24 and Miramax are the main parties who are currently in battle for the TV rights. Now, the film rights, it would be interesting to go after this. How do they do this? Also being bid against. So I know, Charlie, like when it comes to like horror, no one is ever dead, even if you see a body or you didn't see a body.
Think about Chucky, for example, who was never a body, simply a spirit. I mean, the way that movie worked is some serial killer got killed in a department store, and then he bled on a bootleg Chucky, and then Chucky was possessed, and that's never going to end. So that's a story trope that could carry you through anything. Oh, it was a ghost. Oh, I was inhabited by a ghost. Blah blah blah. Yada yada yada.
Yeah, I mean, we saw, I mean, so the last time we saw Michael Myers, spoilers if you didn't see Halloween Ends, he ended up in like one of those, was it not a trash compactor? It was kind of like essentially like one of those shredders.
Yeah,
for, like,
I thought they put him in like a car crusher kind of deal.
It's
or
like
maybe
a shredder, like shreds the metal and all that stuff. So did his blood then, like to your point, seep into the ground and it's going to make a pod person Michael Myers?
There you go. Yeah,
we turn everybody into Michael Myers. I don't know.
Love that. We love that when we watched a couple years ago. The Pod People with Donald Sutherland and a very young Jeff Goldblum. That was one of his first films.
Yeah, so I don't really know, I mean, at this point, how this will work. I mean, the reason why these were so successful and so exciting because it's like, oh, these are the official sequels to the original Halloween.
Yeah, it was a trilogy that was leveraging on the fact that, hey, we went back to the drawing board, we threw out all the other sequels that made like, Michael Myers was Jamie Lee Curtis's character's younger brother or whatever, and they threw all that shit out, and that's all well and good. So I love it how this quote says there's a massive bidding war right now for television rights. Really? Who's saying it's a massive bidding war? You just to kind of make yourself sound like a big shot? It just seems a little ridiculous to me. Is the hunger for this so much so that we would want to be like, oh, I'm watching a 10-episode streaming series about Halloween and it's just really kicking ass? No, that's a movie kind of deal for me. It's like, oh, Mike Myers is there and now he's shoving a fluorescent light through some old lady's eye socket. That's what you want to see, right?
Well, I mean, you can get away with more on TV, but we also, Charlie, remember the Friday the 13th, the series. Remember that had nothing to do with like Michael, with Jason, but it was like haunted antiques. It was so weird.
Halloween could simply refer to anything that happens on Halloween. It could.
It'd be like Season of the Witch, that the third Halloween film, which John Carpenter did because he wanted to like say Halloween isn't just Michael Myers. It's kind of a thing of around Halloween and all those. But apparently,
interesting.
A24 is also making a Friday the 13th Jason Voorhees prequel on Universal and going to Peacock called Crystal Lake. So it sounds like there is thoughts of like, hey, with TV, you can try new ideas and milk the property in a new way that supports the streaming services. And then you have something big for a movie when it's available. So maybe that's where it would land. I mean, with Michael Myers, I mean, you could, and I don't know. I mean, I don't know if this is too much or if there's new ideas.
What you're just describing is kind of like the Filoni verse in Star Wars. He's milking it all together with Ahsoka, and then to bring Mando and bring all the components together to then have his film. So yeah, milk it on the streaming, milk it. And then get a movie out of it. So interesting.
I guess. If it's bad, let's maybe it'll be better than the last two Halloween films. We did not enjoy those, but
not could be. You'll only know to find out. Okay, moving right along. Apple Plus. You and I were talking about this week because I'm like, oh, morning show's coming back. Do you have Apple Plus right now? No, I let it run out, and I'm like, okay. We're really motivated to get back to watching Apple. But they released the first trailer for Matthew Vaughn's spy romp Argyle, not just a sock anymore. Killer cast: Henry Cavill, Dua Lipa. Oh God, Dua Lipa, be still my beating heart. Bryce Dallas Howard, who I love. Sam Rockwell. Yeah, I feel like I haven't seen Sam Rockwell in something in a bit. Bryan Cranston,
good too. He always makes everything better. He's like one of those guys that just
He's like it's a little pop with Sam Rockwell. Bryan Cranston, of course, we just finished watching Breaking Bad. Catherine O'Hara. John Cena. I love John Cena. I don't know why the hell I love John Cena so much. Dua Lipa again. They've listed twice in this headline. Ariana DeBose and Samuel L. Jackson because it's been 30 years and he's still in everything.
Exactly.
He is looking phenomenally old. Am I wrong? Like, oh my God.
And I think he's fine with that. And the great thing about this film, so it's Apple's actually getting into film production. So this is actually going to be in theaters first. Then go to the service later, and this is by Matthew Vaughn. So this Argyle movie.
Yep.
Matthew Vaughn made The Kingsman. He also did Wanted and things like that. So stylized stuff is what he does. Over the top. Cool. I love The Kingsman, and this movie is so weird because you've got Our star of this film.
This is Bryce Dallas Howard. She's an author.
Dallas Bryce Howard, who's been a director, but she basically is a writer, and everything she writes about this spy film, a spy series called Argylle, which is Henry Cavill is playing this character in like her imagination along John Cena.
It's like it's like Romancing the Stone, if you remember that movie, which I love.
Or that
one of my mother's one of my mother's favorites.
Sandy Bullock film that we just saw, where she was
with Channing Tatum, where she's an author and gets mixed up in something. That's fun.
So this is, and then Sam Rockwell's the real spy, and basically everything you write becomes real. So Bryan Cranston wants to basically have her continue to write, and this trailer is hilarious. It's got great action, love it. Very funny, a cat, and
the cat stuff is great, right? Because it's one of those cat backpacks that has the window in it. I'd be terrible when I put one of my cats in there; they'd flip out. My cat, I have one of 3 cats that ever runs out of the house. I was talking to a political canvasser. We were having a chit chat, and while we were standing there for 3 minutes, the cat zipped out. And all she did is run to the right of my house, under my neighbor's truck, back in front of my neighbor's yard, back under my car, we did this for like 5 minutes, and I got April to come out, put some cat treats down. The other cats don't give a shit. The other cats will be happy to die here because you know what? Outside sucks. There's nothing out there for you.
Yeah. Our cat goes to the garage and just sits there. I'm like, that's what you wanted to do? The likelihood that you might get crushed by a car backing up or going into the fan of the car, not a good plan, little girl.
Good luck. It's warm enough in here. Yes.
Yeah. So this just looks great, and the trailer ends with who the real Agent Argylle is. So that's like the cliffhanger. We don't know who Argylle is, so it's going to be probably something.
It's going to be Pedro Pascal.
Yeah.
Mandalorian. Got it. So this comes.
I had no clue about this film happening, and I don't know if this date will change, but Apple really doesn't care because it's not like they have to worry about having constant content.
Yeah, because they do. Yeah, they're a little more like days. So Feb 2 of 2024, and then at a later date on Apple Plus. So I love it. Good deal. All right, let's see here. Oh my, this trailer was nuts, and it was only like a minute, but it was like
right?
Red Band trailer for the return of the Toxic Avenger, which I'm only kind of mildly aware of. That was a thing. Oh, there you go. Original film by Macon Blair Macon Blair making the new film. The 1984 cult classic. But it teases the titular hero's incredible powers as he easily takes down a group of hostage takers called the Nasty Lads. This was rough. He walks in there, and what's his main weapon? Like a mop? Like a glowing mop?
Yeah. It's a glowing mop in this one.
Yeah, he takes a swipe at the first guy and tears his jaw off, and then you just see a montage from the outside of this building of windows and just blood splattering, and then a guy's body slams up again, blood flying everywhere. As jacked. And then it's clearly set in the past, and that's Peter Dinklage is the Toxic Avenger. I mean,
the cast is great.
It's clearly said. It kind of reminds me of RoboCop.
Kevin Bacon's going to be in this, Charlie.
Yeah,
this is
they
great.
Play. Yeah, it looked like where they have the news people, but they're playing this one a little sillier. Remember in RoboCop they had and the Star Wars laser beam went off by mistake today and nuked a part of Colombia, you know what I mean? So, this looks great. Now, who's going to have this? Is it going to be in theaters or?
So this is going to be in theaters, and actually was already shown at Fantastic Fest. And the good news is there's already reviews for this film out, which is, and it got 94% critical on Rotten Tomatoes.
On Rotten Tomatoes, oh my gosh!
The only thing I heard is they use some digital blood and effects versus just being all practical, which to me, as long as it looks okay, I don't care. I'm not like one of those horror heads that everything's got to be puppets and what is it, syrup blood and stuff like that. I'm fine if it looks cool and doesn't draw me out. But this one, they're going all in on just the gore and the camp. So this is kind of surprising considering the talent involved. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely correct. Cool. All right. Last story. I titled like your teaser, X-Men film before we hit retirement age. With the writer's strike over, there was already buzz middle of the week about Marvel being ready to hear pitches about the revival of the X-Men franchise. The thing that is probably putting Disney a fair amount in debt is their huge purchase of Fox, which brought along the Fantastic Four, which they're already apparently actively engaged in producing a film for. And then, the X-Men is the one that's supposed to save everything with the big reboot. Now, Todd, you're the X-Men guy, so I'm going to let you speak to this. How does this make you feel?
It's kind of weird because right now they say they're just now taking pitches, which is scary to me because they've already laid out their timeline of, I think the last thing that's been announced for the MCU is what, Secret Wars in 2026? Is that the
Has it
last
been pushed
official
out
thing?
that far? Yeah, I suppose
Yeah,
so.
because
Yeah,
Fantastic
because it's
Four is
going to be
2025. Then
yeah,
2026 is Secret Wars, I believe.
right.
So the
There you go.
scary part is they're pitching ideas now, and they've got already filling their portfolio of projects they've already announced, plus things that are already in production, things that are going to fill in as they have gaps to go from there. This potentially might not even happen until like 2028. And I don't know what their approach will be. Obviously, whatever happens in Secret Wars will probably prime a lot of what we'll expect to see out of the X-Men. And I don't know if it means like everything else in the MCU just goes to sleep for a while and we focus on the X-Men. Because Charlie, I don't know how how do you manage all of these strands and all of these
Right.
things and then say, oh, by the way, here is like the previously like biggest franchise for Marvel, and here you go. I mean, it seems like it would dominate it if you're not careful, or get watered down with a billion other things. I don't know how you manage it.
Right.
And it
Yeah, it's
be,
because that's what they seem to struggle with on streaming, and the fact that there's certainly got really since Endgame, which is now 4 years gone by, how things have just really kind of slid a little with an occasional peak, of really high performing with Marvel, how things have just slid because the focus has they're streaming now and that's where we're going to put stuff. Some of it is great and some of it's bad, but you got to watch it all, otherwise you don't know what's going on. And not everybody is really down with that. People still just like to go and enjoy a film, and there might be something tangential that you can pick up from the previous one, but other than that, people just don't want to be that in the weeds. So yeah, I just don't know how this could work, but yeah, it's a tough push. I mean, the X-Men franchise under Fox definitely went out. They went out with a rattle, and then what's below a rattle? As something continues to fall. Does it hit the ground and then like go into like a sub basement and then a sub basement? I mean, because we had Apocalypse, which was crappy, and then we had Dark Phoenix, which made Apocalypse look like it deserved an Oscar. Oh my God!
Bad.
What a horrible film!
Bad.
I caught a few
minutes, which I found fun, and then you had Logan. So it was like a mixed bag. It's like it was like for every good one, you got two bad ones. I mean, it really was that. Like,
so it's one step forward, two steps back, kind of in theory.
Absolutely.
So I don't know, but again,
So we've already had the X-Men essentially had two takes on it so far.
Yeah, two complete.
Is there a take you would like to see that you feel like, oh, they really haven't covered this, or I'd love to see a new focus on this?
I mean, the tough one is the most classic X-Men spin is Dark Phoenix, done to death. Please never touch it again. They did Days of Future Past. To my regard, that's my favorite X-Men film, and I could sit and watch that one time and again. I find while nothing is flawless, I find it's pretty close. What are some other real big X-Men arcs? What am I thinking? What was the one with Calypso and the Mutant Massacre? That's a big one I can think of.
It is. That seems like one though that you have to build into it because you have to say why is that happening in the characters.
Right. Fall of the Mutants, or even more current. It was the Krakoa, the Mutant Nation, or whatever. I mean, do you think they would tackle something that's not quite so classic? I mean, a fresher take on something that hasn't been touched at all.
I think you could do the initial. Because we had First Class, but it wasn't covering a lot of Iceman, Angel.
Wasn't
that was true? Kind of the all new X-Men. Right. They did that with that group. So I don't know. Maybe they could do once again a hybrid of we're going to bring in some classic X-Men, but some newer X-Men to kind of, but start from scratch.
Yeah,
which would be interesting. If they didn't want to, they could say, we're just going all in. The X-Men have existed. There's flashbacks to maybe how Charlie Xavier did his thing and had Magneto, but maybe that's the best approach. Don't start from scratch again, but just go all in and say, this is our team and this is how they came to be, like the Fantastic Four. Don't tell us their origin again. Let's go all in.
that worked out well for Tom Holland Spider-Man because you need to see it again. It would be great if with the Fantastic Four, not to go off on a total another tangent, it was kind of the same thing. Like, hey, these guys have been around and they happened after the blip. So they've been around, but they've been around forever or whatever. They disappeared in the blip right as they were getting started, something like that. So I don't know. But again, we'd be looking to see this in 5 years. What was the time frame they gave here?
I mean, if we think about this, I mean, potentially 2028, because I mean, if they're just pitching scripts, I mean, if they're going to be, think Star Wars,
like 4 years,
they've pitched how many scripts for Star Wars, and they just cannot. They've struggled to cement films, so
they can't get landing.
X-Men's hard to do too. It's not like starting off with Captain America and say, hey, we know a story, let's pitch it and make it good. And Thor, I mean, one character versus a team. The last time they did a team was Guardians of the Galaxy. The next time they did a team was Eternals. Or Inhumans.
Or on the DC side when they tried to shoehorn in the Justice League. And it just
rush into a team often is hard to do.
You just can't get it. So anyway, all right, more thoughts on that as things evolve. But anyway, that's the end of the news. Todd, time to get up that Fuber app, that feeble Uber app. The Geek Easy awaits for us to talk about things we're enjoying down in Scuggsville. Nasty Town, let's depart.
Talk nerdy to me. Talk nerdy to me.
We're sitting at the Geek Easy, cover band's playing, drinks are poured, and we are ready to get our nerd on. So I saw a movie that just launched. This is by the director, maybe director of Rogue One, Gareth Edwards.
You're not sure if he was the director? Are we doing a fact check on that?
Well, the thing about Rogue One is there's a lot of discussion about who actually has like full creative, because like there was reshoots and things like that. Who is credited as director? Who is the writer? Because we got Andor, and that was the baby of what's his name? I'm blanking on his name.
Tony, wasn't it Tony something or other?
Tony Gilroy. That's right.
There we go. Nailed it.
Gareth Edwards is credited as the director on Rogue One, but there's thoughts that Tony Gilroy came in and kind of put it all together.
He was the guy. He was the
and Gary Witt is the writer on that one. So there and Gareth Edwards also did, I believe, Godzilla, the original one, and so. I liked him and I've liked what he's done. So the creator is actually an original IP. It's not adapted from something else. And this is I guess the take on this, it's basically in a world where AI was part of humanity, they grew together. Essentially something goes wrong with the AI and it basically launches an atomic attack on Los Angeles. At that point, the US government essentially wages war on AI. Not every country goes along with them. So essentially you've got AI, they call them simulants, which are basically, they look like humans, but with AI personalities.
They got a big screw hole in the back.
Yeah. They got like a hole in the middle of their head, which you look through, which is kind of cool look. And they basically use people's images. Like you can donate your image and have them there. And then you can actually essentially download your personality,
it's like the
AI.
It's like the Hasbro selfie series. Look, now I'm Snake Eyes. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so it's kind of a neat thing. Like if you wanted to live forever, do this, you could. But there's also AI robots that just look like robots that also have personalities.
I
and
see it in the
jobs
trailer.
and things like
They all end up in that same compactor that Michael Myers ended up in getting squished. I saw it in the trailer. Yeah.
So essentially. That is the premise. Basically, the U.S. government is trying to hunt them down, take them over. They're basically certain governments and other countries are still living with them because they don't feel it's a threat. They thought this one, mishap was just that, and it wasn't like throw the baby out with the bathwater. So the premise of this is John David Washington, Denzel Washington's son, who's become a really good actor. He essentially was an undercover military ops trying to find out who this like mastermind is behind the next level AI, taking them down deep cover. He essentially befriends and falls in love with a woman who is also she's compassionate towards AI. So and things go awry, and that's kind of where this whole thing opened up. So basically, the whole premise of the plot is to get the weapon that the AI compassionate folks are trying to build to essentially combat the U.S. government, which has created this huge, like spaceborne, well, not spaceborne, but it's definitely high in the atmosphere that can go in, track, and like send down like heavy fire ammunition. So it's definitely a threat to everyone. So that's kind of the premise of the movie. This movie, though, is definitely really focused on our basically our Joshua is the name of our main character, and he finds the weapon. You see it in the trailer. They already put out there. Basically, the weapon is a little girl. So basically, an AI, and he's just trying to get her back because he wants to find his wife who was killed in a strike. He finds out she might not be dead, and she feels like if he can deliver this weapon, he can find his wife in the process. But this is really about his relationship with a little girl. He basically calls her Alfie, and the actress they've got that's like 6 years old in this movie, she is phenomenal. Just really, really just emotes and cries, and the way she acts, just really well done. Child actors are hit and miss. They can ruin a film.
Mostly miss. Yeah.
Yeah. It depends on the director and the actor. And this is a great combination of that. And their relationship is phenomenal. This movie looks great because it used a lot of like practical effects and wasn't all on green screens. They went to locations, which actually makes a movie cheaper, by the way, when this is doing everything in a wing, solving it in post. So now I will say this movie doesn't try to solve the issue of AI. It doesn't try to teach us anything in regards to like, is the AI and the way we treat them.
Even even an android can cry. Yeah.
Is it a morality tale? Is it doing anything that Isaac Asimov did with other, stories like that? Is it telling the next great like parable or morality tale with an AI? No, but I think it's got phenomenal action, great script, great acting. Allison Janney's in this, and she plays a badass, and she's wonderful.
Her. Always liked her.
Ken Watanabe plays a great one of the AI.
I noticed this from in the big holy head thing. He still has like a stubbly beard, so there's a stubble level to.
I'm not sure that works. I'm not sure if like you have control of like your facial hair and not the way you look. But
hold on, I'm gonna grow myself a stubbly beard. That was one of those things like that just doesn't really work for me. Yeah, I couldn't say that the trailers really grabbed me, but if you say it's great, this could be something I check out on Max someday or whatever, wherever it ends up. Why the heck not?
I hope this does well because I'd like to see more science fiction films that aren't based on every IP you've seen before, do well. And like I said, it's not like the greatest film ever, or it's that, it's going to change cinema. It's not, but it was highly entertaining. I enjoyed it. And I got the feels between the relationship between
did you get
multiple characters in the film.
Chills? Were they multiplying?
Correct, yes.
Dude. That's very nice. I love it. Good deal.
Great. And the end credits, there was no like post-credit scene, but they did choose a song for the end credits. And I thought it was beautiful as a way to wrap it up after all of this noise and emotion. I thought it was a good, brought you down, which was nice for a change.
Nice. Good deal. All right. And then you got a pair of things that we both watched. I'm a little further ahead in the first one, but the second one we watched, but I hope you don't mind if I jump in, but go for it.
Yeah. Gen V episode. This is Gen V. This is the spin-off The Boys. This is essentially the basically superheroes in college, drug, sex, and rock and roll, but far more dangerous.
And really, as far as we know, I don't feel like we've heard anything about the boys coming back. Are they actually still making it? Or because both this episode, and I won't get into, we watched all three of them because it dropped 3 episodes and then they'll do 2 or whatever it is. But there were little bits, little Easter eggs about stuff that happened that is happening in this Boys-averse after the last season about Homelander and different stuff and the Senator and
the first episode I didn't get I don't know about the second. You can tell me if like you kind of feel like when this is taking place, but when I watching the first episode, I'm like, I don't really know when this was happening in the timeline of the boys
Yeah,
that we watched.
definitely after what the hell were we in, season 4, season 3, or season 4, whatever
Season
current
3, yeah.
whatever the most current season is. This is taking place after it, pretty much.
Oh, really? That's
Well, like
kinda
I said,
cool. I was
they're
surprised, yeah.
tuning into. There's a news clip, like, you see Homelander in a news clip, and it's topical to something that happened in
okay.
season 3. You see the Senate, but somebody's flipping channels and they say, and Homelander, I don't want to spoil anything, but well, it's not really spoiling. They say, well, Homelander killed an innocent bystander, in an argument or whatever, which happened at the end of the last episode of The Boys. So yes, this is taking place after the current season of The Boys, is my vibe.
Oh, I like that, because then it kind of feels like this is all for naught, right? And
exactly.
That's pretty cool. I mean, this series is like the first episode. It's all about establishing the cast. Kind of the premises is that Godolphin University, we're basically the founder of this university, Clancy Brown, has passed.
That's me. I'm Clancy Brown. I had a guy at the wedding we went to yesterday turn around and said, "Man, when I heard you speak, I know I don't know you, but you sound like Clancy Brown." I'm like, "Oh, okay."
I would have never guessed that in a million words.
Clancy Brown is awesome, and I am.
He's got a gravelly voice, Charlie.
I do not.
Voice.
I don't really have that timbre when I'm a second tenor when I sing. If I was gravelly, I'd be a baritone. So no.
You have to start smoking, then maybe we'll come back to that.
I think I won't, but we saw. And I'll tell you, watched the first episode, and yes, the Clancy Brown's character is the dean. He's the crusty old dean, and one of his students,
those kids for getting into hijinks.
Yeah, exactly. One of his students, who's played by Patrick Schwarzenegger, I had to look it up. Arnold Schwarzenegger's son, he's the golden boy. How appropriate! But he sets himself on fire and burns his clothes off. So he's like the Human Torch, but they haven't gotten him. Something where his ding dong doesn't hang on. They make a lot of dick jokes too. But yeah, he has a psychotic break and murders Clancy Brown. And then
I did not know that.
You just said you watched the first episode.
They didn't cover that in the first episode.
Yeah, they did.
No, they didn't.
Well, you just said he passed away. Now I feel terrible.
Because there was a ceremony for him that they were going to. Basically, it was a charity thing, and they were saying, "Oh, but yeah, there's not much into that, like, in the motivation of the character, if this guy's bad or good or yet." Yeah.
I'm so lost because I remember the first episode ending with the death I mentioned.
No, that's not how the first episode ends. The first episode ends with someone who shrunk gets discovered in the prison. That's how the first episode ends.
I'm so lost.
No, because I was ironing my son's shirt, and my wife was watching as we're talking to him, and she goes, "Oh crap!" And that's how the first episode ends.
But what you just described was the end of the third episode. Todd, you watched it backwards.
No,
you did. You absolutely did. That is what you just described as the end of the third episode. Yeah,
I started on Amazon Prime and just started watching episode 1. They introduced all the characters. That's all that was happening.
At the end of the first episode is the death I mentioned, and then at the end of the third episode, the Shrinky character is stuck in the prison. You did. I'm not trying to screw with you, but anyway. So in essence, you've now watched all 3 episodes. You're caught up.
Yeah, I know. I was just all in. I'm like, I'm going in, and this is what's happening, and here's introducing.
You must have hit the wrong
something
button.
Odd going on, Godolphin University.
You buttoned down, and you chose the last episode. So isn't that weird? It's happened where things like that have happened to me, where you're watching the wrong one. But anyway. Now we're really off the mark. So I'm sorry if I give you a spoiler for an episode you said you watched.
As far as I know, I was watching the first episode, but I will say I'm enjoying this. I like the fact that these characters seem like they're not dirtbags. They have issues they're dealing with, and I'm enjoying it. I really like what they're doing. So I guess if I did watch episode 3, then shame on me, and I will go watch episode 1 and episode 2.
Well, I was going to say, yeah, because that is what happened at the end of the first episode. The Patrick Schwarzenegger's character goes nuts, and he kills Clancy Brown, and then our heroine has to...
Well, let's not spoil it for everybody listening to me, especially me.
Yes. Well, I guess, sorry, a reverse spoiler. So anyway, let's move on to talking about Ahsoka.
Apparently, yeah. So Charlie, I watched the first episode of Ahsoka.
No, not again. Which, by the way,
episode 7. Yes.
By the way, if you tune in over on Holocron, Mark finally did acquiesce to talking about Ahsoka. We covered episodes 1 and 2, and we're joined by Peter Stein, who's one of our regular contributors. So please go enjoy that.
Yes. So Ahsoka episode 7, they actually are surprising me by actually covering a lot of ground before the final episode.
Right. Yeah, it's not
So many
it's
of these
not
streaming shows.
let's pack it into the last 50
Yeah,
minutes.
they've been horrible where it's like, here's 85 plot threads. You have one episode to finish them. Okay, let's go. Let's do it. I mean,
We can do
Picard did
it.
that.
I call it a challenge. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, even WandaVision had. They set up so much, and it's like, oh, here's the last episode, so it's going to be a superhero, shootout or whatever. So,
yeah, it's a big blue sky hole, big fight out. Yeah,
yeah. I am still a little. I mean, I like this one a lot. I mean, I think Ezra and Sabine are the highlights of this show. They have energy, they have excitement. They're not an old sad sack. They're not all focusing on the past. They're thinking about relationships and friendships.
And it's a friendship, not a romance, which is very tired. You're going to see that time and again. So yeah, no, I agree with you. But yeah, this was a fun episode filled with a ton of energy and action. You had a good stormtrooper shootout. I do love that Ezra was like, they're going to get into it because the Billie Eilish Jedi shows up, and then all the remnant stormtroopers show up, and they're going to have a big slug out. And Sabine says to Ezra, "Here, take your lightsaber," and he's like, "I don't need it. The Force is my ally." And his whole thing is to just force push people and flip them around. And that goes on for a little while until the stormtroopers get in the mix and he picks up a blaster and then he's just shooting. So you know what? Yeah, the Force is my ally thing worked out until he had a gun. Then a gun was his ally.
Cool.
I totally agree.
Because
I totally agree.
I kind of feel like the lightsaber work, it's not that exciting anymore because I feel like everybody can use a damn lightsaber because it's not like if you're not a Jedi, you can't pick up a lightsaber and shoot and hit somebody with it. So I feel like lightsabers kind of bland these days.
It's because of the whole thing early in the first volume when Marvel picked up Star Wars again back in 2015. Everybody's got lightsabers. That they had a situation where they had like a robot thing that had an Admiral Akbar head that had 9 lightsabers, and then Chewie and Han and Leia and Luke, everybody had a lightsaber, and it was just like it was Oprah giving out lightsabers.
The dark saber is essentially a lightsaber. And
well, I mean, it is. Yeah, it's a Mandalorian lightsaber, exactly. So, I thought this was great, and and we're now left with, how's everybody going to get back, or who's getting back, or who's going to die. The whales took off, so they're not taking the whales back home again. So there's some
cargo, Charles.
Yeah.
So there's cargo. They said that was the big thing, getting cargo onto the ship, and then they could take off.
Yeah.
There's so many thoughts on like dark magic, and that's why the stormtroopers all have like those wraps around them because they're being held together like the what was this, Merrick? They basically, everyone's thinking that they're just all of these stormtroopers are just filled with gas.
Yeah. The Fartian, would you call them, the Farty Martian?
Fartians, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, well, that's cool. Yeah, and so, at the same time you're listening to this, you could ostensibly be watching the finale of Ahsoka at that time, and we don't necessarily know if this is going to continue before the rumored Filoni versus Super film. So, I would say, so Todd, just super quick, before we move on, how would you rate this amongst the Disney Plus Star Wars shows? I know Andor is your favorite because you said it time and again.
Well, I mean, I love The Mandalorian when it's, when it was pulling. I thought that was great. It was fun.
Yeah.
I really liked Andor, what it did, trying to tell a different Star Wars story. This one's better than the than the Obi-Wan. It's better than the Book of Boba Fett.
Oh yeah.
I don't care for Bad Batch, so this felt like it is Rebel Season 5. But other than that, I do like how we brought in new characters, live action.
Yeah,
I think this is good. It's once again, there's a little bit, this could have been streamlined a little bit, and calling it Ahsoka just kind of felt like versus Rebel Season 5.
Yeah, pick a different name. And Ray Stevenson's performance, I think, is the highlight of the series. On the other side, it's a compelling character. He's acting it fantastically, and I won't say it makes it more sad that he passed away, because it's very sad for his family, but it's a loss to the community at wide, because he was absolutely wonderful. Okay, So watch Ahsoka when you're listening to this. I did a Todd Extra this week and dug into the old movie pile. April, just like Todd and I have a Shocktober list of films that we watch, April and I have a Shocktober pile of movies that we've compiled in a Google document. I try to go through and I highlight, we watched this one last year. We watched this one the year before. So we got down to 2007's Paranormal Activity, which was a spiritual cousin of its own sort to like the Blair Witch Project, which came out almost 10 years earlier. Found footage. You're not seeing my air quotes because it's clearly two actors. But it is a man and his girlfriend in residential San Diego. And this young woman has been menaced by a poltergeist in her youth, and what we come to find out is that a poltergeist, it's like having an STD. It follows you because it still
follows that movie, like the movie.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So what we find out, not only for the fact that this couple is living in, and he's a muckety muck, he's got a nice house that they're living in, but this poltergeist has clearly followed her as an adult. She's a college student, but she's consulting with a demonologist who's explaining that the poltergeist stays with you, and you got to get some help. But then later in the film is, we really need your help. Oh, the guy who needs to help you is out of town, and the poltergeist doesn't like that I'm here. I've got to go. So it's kind of like Scammeroo, like the guy can't help. But Todd, like you said in the pre-roll, a lot of it is, first of all, everything, it's found footage. So the movie starts out that this day trader guy's name is Micah or some such, is carrying around this camera everywhere he goes. Fortunately, he's not doing it when he's sitting on the toilet or when he's making love to his girlfriend. Thank God, we don't want to see that. But he plants it, and it does the time lapse while they're sleeping, and then you'll see the little time counter there and it'll speed up. And I always have the captions on anytime I watch a movie because I think you get that much double entertainment value with captions, and it'll say loud humming, footsteps, at a different point, Micah puts like salt down on the floor and footprints track into their bedroom and da-da-da-da-da. And then he goes up in the attic at one point and there's a burned remnant of a photograph that was the girl when she was a child. And so it really did, especially the last 20 minutes. And it's an hour and 25 minutes. Talk about a sweet spot for a length of a film. So you can knock it out on a Saturday night. I found it to be very suspenseful. It's great to watch with the lights off. And it does have a whiz bang of an ending, which, if you haven't seen it.
Which I've seen, unfortunately. Spoiled. Yeah. I watched one of those, top 100 scariest films, and they kind of break it down. And fun fact, I remember when this movie was coming out, an old show I used to watch called The Totally Rad Show. They actually were talking and playing a game with all of the actors before it came out. So it was kind of interesting to see these.
They're actors?
Exactly. These unknowns that, talking, just being normal. Like, you're going to have like the next big film. And that was kind of crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. So anyway, that was fun. You can find that on Paramount Plus if what I'm talking about has any interest to you. So, okay. Well, that is the end of the Geek Easy. Time to skip out on the bill because I know they spit in my burger and probably in my old fashioned as well. Got to get out that Air Qantas app. Time to get us down to the land down under. Hologram Tina, but not hologram Tina Madam Webb. Two Tinas on the show. Her and the mutants waiting for us to entertain them with our first tale of Shocktober 2023. So let's go.
Welcome to another edition of Thunderdome.
Thank you, Tina. We're sitting in the Thunderdome. We're let's try that again. Yes. Thank you, Tina. The mutants have been gathered for a topic or game to be entertained. And this week, we're talking about Shocktober Week 1.
Shocktober. I'll be a shock chuck. Shocktober.
Rocktober. Yeah, Rocktober. All the Tobers are there.
Oh my gosh.
So Shocktober is one of our favorite times of the year. We do a scary movie. Charlie and I each pick, one each or two each, roughly. And this week, Charlie, you picked The People Under the Stairs from Wes Craven from 1991.
Ooh,
this
man.
Movie had a budget of $6 million, made $31 million. So success.
Nice.
Budget. Yeah.
Big success. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So the premise of this movie, it was kind of, I guess they considered a horror comedy film. And the plot follows a young boy and two adult robbers who become trapped in a house belonging to a strange couple after breaking in to steal their collection of gold coins.
Wow. Just think Mario, your princess is in the wrong castle kind of scenario.
Yeah, an odd concept. Essentially dealing with a boy who his family is in hard times. His mom's got cancer. She's got a bunch of kids, and the oldest boy, his nickname is Fool, who essentially feels like he has to take care of his mom, and
he's the man of the house, and he's like 12.
And then there was the tarot reader. Was she like an older sister?
Yeah, she was the sister, and she had a bit part in House Party, which was the Kid and Plays movie, which was another movie that came out at this exact
and she
same
was
time.
in a Nightmare on Elm Street too. So
there you go.
Not two, but one as well. And that's why
I thought all the kids. There's a bunch of kids running around. I thought they were all hers. I thought she was just kind of a
No, the mom said on her deathbed, "Take care of you're the man of the house now." The sister, if that's who the sister was,
Kelly Jo
apparently,
Mittner.
also a streetwalker. Which
there you go.
By Ving Rhames, who basically
Ving Rhames, one of his earliest roles, because he wasn't real. He didn't do Pulp Fiction until 1994, and that was really when he came on the radar. But he's an LA guy. This is set in LA. It was filmed. The house is a famous filming location that as always I looked it up. It's like right near the 101 and the 101 freeway. So which you can see as they move around the house. The traffic's going by on the freeway. But it was a famous house built well over 100 years ago in the very early 1900s for a lumber baron. It's called the Philip K. something or other house. I don't know. I looked it up and now I can't remember. But obviously the inside of it was a studio set because they're going through the walls and they're doing all this stuff.
Yeah.
But the house had like crazy separate sections because they would go from one to the other and show up in a hallway that was clearly deserted, but then go back to another one that wasn't. And then, a lot going on here.
So let's get into it. So essentially, Ving Rhames shows up at the house because apparently that's what he does. Smoking a cigarette, and
was he the pimp? Is that why he was showing up? I never really got the vibe.
Ne'er-do-well, robberies, things like that. Shows up. Yeah. I'm definitely dressing of the times with African-inspired garb.
Yeah, the hat, that African hat,
like Queen Latifah and Ladies First. That video.
Ooh, Ladies First.
Exactly.
Ladies First.
She's got like the African colors. So. He says basically, you're the man of the house. You can't do crap. You gotta, your mama needs surgery for cancer. What are you gonna do? And they're also getting evicted. And they find out. Ving Rhames says, "I got a plan to get you some money." Apparently, the guys who own this building are also folks that we just stole robbed their liquor store. They own all these things plus their landlord. And they own a bunch of gold coins, and we need you, kid.
Great setup.
And we're going to cut you in on this. So that's the premise of this movie, essentially.
Right.
It's a robbery gone wrong, Charlie. Essentially, we're introduced to the people who are going to be robbed. It's a woman and a man. And
they appear to be husband and wife, and they appear to have a daughter.
They look pretty normal. And then... So, the kid tries to go and say, "I'm a Boy Scout. I need to use your bathroom." They say no. So then another guy who's on the job with them.
I love this dude. He was a helmsman in Star Trek 6, so he's a Star Trek guy. He goes to
Jeremy
break in.
Roberts, a.k.a. Spencer, who's apparently, I looked up his IMDb because they usually have it for anybody. He hasn't done something like since 2004. So
he reprised that same role I mentioned from Star Trek 6 in an episode of Voyager that was the 30th anniversary one where Tuvok was on the Excelsior. You know what I'm talking about. And he was Tuvok's buddy. Who got killed when the console exploded. So, and that was right around the same time this was made. Spencer goes in by breaking, because
guy.
He goes in. He goes in and, then boom, then all of a sudden mom and pa are driving away in their car. And then this is what I don't get. So Ving Rhames and Fool take their robbery van and park it in the fucking driveway. And then it's like, I'm like, hey, first day, exactly. Why would they pull in? They're going in to get gold coins. It's not like they're going in to start carrying furniture out. So
it's the same vehicle that also was spotted from the liquor store robbery too.
Exactly.
So
because when Ma and Pa come back, first of all, did they think they didn't know where Mom and Pop were going, how long they were going to be gone.
No.
Why wouldn't they have simply snuck up, like walked around and snuck up to the back of the house and broke in that way?
Parked like 3 blocks away.
Yeah, exactly. And then, because you're leaving the house with a bag of gold coins, assuming that you find it. But of course they don't. They get into the house. Mom and Pa show up. There's a big, lockdown. They're getting chased by it's
a weird house because they try to make their way through. The couple owns a dog. The dog starts going after them because it smells them. So they lock things up. And then the couple determines, there's something going on here. So we're going to release the hound. So they end up prying up the house, and this dog goes after him. This dog is like a Rottweiler, I assume.
Yeah, very dangerous.
Right.
Because and don't forget,
is not a thief with a golden heart, Charlie. He's basically like, kid, I ain't having you if you want to help me get out of this, but you're basically going to be bait for this dog.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and don't forget that before this fool does find that Spencer is dead in the basement, and the dog ate his hand and then cuffs up his ring.
That's right. That he does. Yeah. He does find him because he's basically going in, looking around, and there's people locked up in the basement. April and I were watching, and she said, now, what is it about being locked in the basement and away from society that makes your face look like some kind of a Star Trek alien? Because all the people, without sunlight, your face shrivels and you look like some kind of a weird mongoloid or something. I don't know. It's not very Spencer's the first casualty of this movie. Yeah. Fool finds him. He's completely white, like you said. And Fool says, well, he's scared so badly he turned white. He says, he's whiter than white. And, I'm like, okay, so that's not really explained how that happened, because at this point we don't know what we're dealing with. We hear noises, these people, and we don't know if they're zombies, werewolves, or vampires. We just know there's something bad going on.
There's one with a TV, and he turns it around. It's the bombing of Baghdad from Operation Iraqi Freedom, because they and it's weird. They gave all the people under the stairs flashlights so they could walk around like it was a rave. That was very 90s.
Yeah, I didn't understand that part either. So then essentially, they're trying to hide from the couple that comes in, and Daddy, who is the bad guy,
wearing a gimp suit and a shotgun,
just chasing after people with a gimp suit.
And they have actress AJ Langer, who was on My So-Called Life, one of April's favorite shows from our childhood. The Claire Danes and Wilson Cruz, who's on Star Trek Discovery, were the stars of that show. She's locked up and thinks that she's their daughter because she was obviously kidnapped as a baby and raised by them. But
she helps them, and then she knows she got to escape. She helps Fool. He determines, there's this girl there who we believe it's their daughter, the murderous couple's daughter,
right?
And
they help out.
Weird
one
hand.
of the people.
We see a weird hand come out of the side, which we don't know what it is, because this daughter character who essentially is, it's kind of weird because the mommy character makes her dresses and things, so they think like, oh well, she cares for the daughter, but apparently there's something wrong because there's a lot of abuse going on.
Clearly,
if she makes a mess, she's going to beat the crap out of her. If you lose your silverware, you're going to have something bad happen, and the hand gives her back the fork she dropped,
right?
And so at this point, we talked about Ving Rhames dying at this point.
So basically, Daddy running around in his gimp suit with a shotgun, corners Ving Rhames.
Well, he shoots him with just a regular handgun.
Yeah. There you go. And then so then Ving Rhames ends up in the slaughterhouse, which is in the basement, and in the back room where you see the first room they break into has a meat grinder, and he's carving up Ving Rhames's corpse and taking a little bite here and there and throwing a piece through the slats to the mongoloids they could eat. And then when they're done with his carcass, though it was like half of it was carved up, they just drop it in a well underneath the basement. So the basement has a well. A house has a lot of features. I wouldn't say a lot of curb appeal, but certainly you get inside.
It's a funeral home. It was a funeral home. It was the family
that's
funeral
right.
home. So you would like in funeral homes, you have like different levels for like your
Yeah.
embalming. You had the pantry area for like the actual presentation, the wake,
Yeah.
like elevators to bring the bodies up and down in the caskets. So they're meant to have some type of features where it was definitely had a purpose. But it was weird. And they captured Fool and put him up, hung him up there, and basically says, hey, you're going to now be fed to these people under the stairs, which he keeps referring to these people under the stairs as the people under the stairs. So it's very obvious that's the movie's title is tied to it. You didn't have to guess why it was. And then Fool goes in there with the people, and we see them. They're kind of long fingernails, albino.
Like I said, looking like a bunch of Star Trek aliens because they're, they don't get sunlight, so you're going to grow an extra forehead. They look like The Walking Dead or like some weird
and he
kind of
escapes.
Yeah,
he finally gets away, escapes, and
out of the house. Jumps away.
Yeah, so at that point, and I mean, it just gets really, really weird. You get some I guess background story about like the husband and the wife, basically kind of racist, well, really racist,
super racist.
Talk about dirty people in the neighborhood,
right? And all the people that they had in the basements were seemingly white. So that's racist too. It's profiling. It's terrible.
Yeah. We didn't hear more about the cops do show up.
Because of the van.
the van, because they saw so they make sure that nothing's going around, so the cops do leave because they're like just checking everything out. And then I mean at that point, Fool, it kind of felt like a Home Alone, right? It was like a reverse Home Alone, right? Because it was like the owners were the ones that were trying to track down, like they were the wet bandits, and then Fool's because this movie was kind of weirdly slapstick in some instances,
right?
Like Daddy was constantly like getting poked in the head, things hitting him. He's
Fool smashes him with the lid of the toilet, big old heavy deal, and he's shooting holes in the wall. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and Roach was the name of the guy who was helping him around, and I recognize that actor.
He's the one that got loose. So we had one character got loose from the basement. His name's Roach. He's going, and there's all these, like you said, like these corridors within the walls where he's making noises and being silly and weird and goofy. And we find out he can't talk because his
tongue got cut out. Yep.
Yeah. But he's trying to help out Alice, who's
the young girl, AJ Langer.
So it is interesting. And then Roach becomes like a friend to Fool. And between them, they kind of cause some hijinks to get Fool out of the house. But then Fool also wants to help Alice. And we end up we do find the coins, though.
Right. And a huge pile of cash, which is,
dynamite.
And dynamite, because those are things you should, and candles, because those things absolutely all belong in the same place. So to wrap things up, in your third act ultimate punch out, you have Fool versus Daddy in the vault room with all the loose cash and the coins and whatever. But Fool does manage to set a trap of a candelabra over the dynamite with the coins that causes an explosion. Mama gets killed, by the way, too. So she gets killed.
You didn't even talk about the fact that Fool escaped and he still came back.
He did, because
the whole neighborhood with him.
His grandfather told him a tale. But exactly. So, but there's this big slug out when Mama was still alive, but then Mama gets killed by because the mutants get out. And they're roaming around the house, whatever, and they take her down. They're
coming out of every place. They're coming out of the staircase. They're punching through all these walls, which I'm like, why didn't you do this before, you dumbasses?
Because it was all hinged upon that thing they were locked in. And then they finally, like I said, there's a big dynamite trap, and it explodes in just the right way that not only takes Daddy out, but it sends cash shooting out of every possible location in the house, so that the people in the ghetto, which they keep describing it as the ghetto, because it was the 90s, like New Jack City. So everybody in the ghetto now has access to cash, and they're grabbing it up. And what's funny is that I looked at this area of LA, and even in current maps on MapQuest, it's all mansions like this. So it's not really the ghetto. But so the people came over
is it like
from
old
the ghetto.
Detroit where there were all those old mansions and now they are not?
Well, like Indian Village, which is next to Grosse Pointe where I grew up.
Exactly.
Yeah, it could be, but I don't think that. Hopefully, there's not a people under the stairs. I have a friend who lives in Indian Village. Hopefully, that's not on her block.
Well, that's how you control your rent. Extra rental folks, and they just live in the basement under the stairs.
Well, why are they? What are they paying you for? Flashlights and TV, and a chunk of a dead body that they cut up.
You got to survive. But it was so very weird because this was going downhill fast. I mean, it was kind of like, what's going to happen? And the kid goes back to, basically get the money and do all these things. And obviously these people get their comeuppance, the people on the stairs. Yeah. And I love it at the end because, all the people are grabbing the cash, like you mentioned, and the people from under the stairs emerge and then just start roaming out.
They're just gone,
finding their own way.
Where do they go? Like,
I don't know.
I bet you, like they say,
cannibals?
The people under the stairs are just people who, because AJ Langer's character was described and say, it's a salesman. It would be like if I was a door-to-door salesman and they just decide, you're living in the basement now. So I've been in the basement for 10 years or whatever. Because Mama and Daddy, who turns out were brother and sister, yikes. Sorry.
Correct. And they kept on
they weren't so old. It's like, how long has anybody been down there that you're so separated from society that now you're a cannibal and you can't speak and you're just going to walk down the street and where are you going?
Well, it was so weird because they mentioned they didn't really want a girl. So that was Alice. And apparently we found out Alice was actually not theirs. It was
exactly. Thank God.
They kidnapped the kid. And
she was there since she was a baby because she didn't know that she wasn't their child. So she didn't have any way to know. And she never got to be outside. So it was a total PTSD. So obviously she's still in therapy. They got her into a shelter or whatever. And
apparently they got all the coins, so they can. And that's what the one guy said. They can the old.
Grandpa
black
Booker.
guy.
Yeah, actor Bill Cobb, the guy in Star Trek who invented the transporter. You met him in Enterprise.
Okay. Well, he tells them though that you've got money now to afford rent till the year 2000. We're going to get your grandma's
which I did in April, and I said,
removed.
Why do they want to live in that shithole? If you got money for rent for the year 2000, go buy a small house. You got to be something affordable.
Well, I assume yes. I assume that was the point, getting out of the the crap hole that they were, because they were the only residents left in there,
in an absolute crack den, because they would walk in. Nothing but crackheads everywhere. Hey, fool, how you doing? Shooting up.
So this was a real estate scam movie at its heart, and gentrification. They wanted to gentrify the neighborhood
by eating all the Ving rings in the neighborhood
through the slowest possible method possible, by kidnapping salesmen. This movie made no sense. This house they were living in, shooting at the walls. I mean, holy cow.
That's not going to enhance the curb appeal. Quick sidebar, and this is from the notes. Wes Craven did say the film was partially inspired by a news story he saw in the late 1970s when two burglars broke into a Los Angeles household, inadvertently causing the police to discover two children who had been locked away under the stairs by their parents. Whoops. Ouch. Art imitates life.
He took that and said, I've got a plot for you.
He said, I'm going to run with this shit I'm going to run like the wind. Oh, man.
And,
It didn't make any damn sense. I enjoyed it because it made me nostalgic for the stupidity of early 90s movies like House Party or Zebrahead, which is another movie like that with Michael Rappaport, or New Jack City, of course, which is a classic I absolutely adore. Kind of gave me that fun vibe with horror. Or what was the one that not Tales from the Dark Side, but it was the Tales from the Crypt movie.
Hood.
Yeah, Tales from the Hood. Thank you. This was a Tales from the Hood. So I enjoyed it. So Todd,
did you watch the end credits, Charlie, and the music from
I did. That song was top shelf.
It was called, what was it? Be Good or Be Good. What was the song? I'm trying to think of the name.
Be Good or You'll Be Under the Stairs. Yeah, it absolutely was.
Oh, here's the soundtrack. Let's see if I can find the listing.
It was one of those great raps from that golden era of rap where you
Do the Right Thing by Redhead Kingpin and the FBI. It made no sense that was the song that ended this movie.
The female body inspector. Yeah, do the right. Well, Fool did the right thing. He went back to rescue AJ Langer. So it was great. All right, Todd. So let's wrap it up. either judging it ironically or judging it as a real film, how many chunks of Ving Rhames' body would you give this movie out of 10?
I've got to do it like on the up and up because I just
keep it
because
straight.
We don't really have a camp rating. This movie felt like Wes Craven was kind of out of ideas at his time. He's like, and his approach and the script were so odd.
He had an idea. He stole it from a news story, but it just didn't make a great idea.
Was bad. I'm going to give this one like 4 out of 10. It was not good.
An honest 4 out of 10.
Yeah, I just didn't feel like where this was going, and it kind of struggled in so many points. It's watching it was goofy and enjoyable, but not a. This was, if you're gonna go into like looking for like a real horror film, I would skip this one. But if you're looking for something campy, a camp classic, this would be kind of there now. Yeah,
I mean, again, there's nothing in this that's like there's some body horror, like he's got Ving Rhames up on a spit and he's carved him, but it's a dummy. It's nothing. It's not like
scared in this movie.
It's not like Hellraiser. You know what I mean? Yeah, so
they were more goofy than they were like really scary.
It was a lot more kind of low budget for that. So I'd have to agree. I'll go 5 out of 10 because I was entertained, but it's not a great film, and a lot of things just don't add up. And they're just like all of your gentrification issues and your class warfare stuff. It's just really, really way overstated. Living in a house that is so cracky that you got crackheads practically falling out of your ceiling vent. It was too much. So a little bit too hard. So, but anyway, all right. That's Shocktober week number 1 polished off, and we'll be bringing you, Todd. Are we revealing our Shocktober schedule, or is it going to be a surprise?
I was just looking up on the schedule. So next week, Charlie, will actually be a very timely one. Exorcist Believer. This is a new film and essentially doing the Halloween thing where it's essentially saying everything that came out of after Exorcist 1 was not real, was not canon, and this is essentially the second
wiped out
Exorcist. Yes.
Nice. Good deal. Well, cool.
Check it out before you listen, and you'll get an opportunity to enjoy what we're going to say.
Our hot takes, and we may or may not have a guest. Sometimes we never know. But anyway, friends, that is the end of the show. Thank you for joining us. Todd, where do people find you out there?
I'm all in on Threads. They're really going well. So check out @Teoxtra, @SecretFriendsU on, actually it's Secret Friends Unite. So we get our full name on
We're
Threads,
the whole schmilly willy.
They have a desktop app now, Charlie, or desktop website. So you can do things there now too, which is new.
Okay.
They have made switching accounts easier from Instagram to going there, so you can just switch and go.
Okay.
So much better. So I'm going to go all in there. I'm going to still put stuff on Twitter, but I'm going to move to Threads really full time. Twitter will be kind of like just kind of keep in touch with everybody, but that's where I'll be.
Interesting. Yes, I did dig back into Threads this week. I'm at the C. I'm C3 Carpenter. Spell out the C3 because again, I got hacked last year, so I had to have a new identity. Over on X Twitter, I do stay somewhat active. I'm at the C3. Go ahead and spell it out over there. Also trying to be a bit more active on Instagram, which would be the same as Threads. As always, my lovely wife April and I do run the USS Grand Petoskey. We are one of the biggest chapters of Starfleet, the international Star Trek fan club in the world. I am also very lucky to run Region 13, which is Michigan and Eastern Canada. If you're a Trekker within the sound of my voice, would like to meet Trekkers in your neighborhood, give us a googs over at USS Grand Petoskey and drop us a note, and I will help you get connected. That works for me.
If you're a single in the area, contact us.
I know. Sexy new Trekkers in your area. I'm not going to go with sexy. Just Trekkers. But with that, as always, I'm going to tell you, say once more time, friends, thank you for joining us. I'm going to tell you that sharing is caring, and to keep on trekking. Whoops. Trekking.
Be the hero, not the villain.
In a Trek truck.
Do the right thing, and don't put people under your stairs.
This podcast is part of the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network. Visit secretfriendsunite.com for more great shows, articles, news, reviews, and more. Secret Friends Unite podcasts are available on Apple, Google, Spotify, and other podcast services around the world. If you'd like to be part of the conversation, you can join us on Facebook or our new Discord server, or follow @SecretFriendsU on Twitter. Please subscribe to Secret Friends Unite on YouTube and visit our merch store at tpublic.com. Just search Secret Friends Unite. Thanks for listening.